Admiral Zextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the holographic display with growing unease. The tactical readout showed something that should have been impossible: an entire human fleet emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the Kelos system. 17 dreadnoughts, 43 cruisers, and over 200 support vessels. Enough firepower to glass a dozen worlds. "How many ships?" he asked his aide, though he already knew the answer. 287 vessels, Admiral. The largest human fleet we've ever encountered. Zextar's mandibles clicked nervously. 3 months ago, the Kelos Correctional Facility had been just another forgotten prison moon orbiting a gas giant in neutral space. Now it was the epicenter of what might become the bloodiest conflict in galactic history, all because of one escaped prisoner. The human had been designated Prisoner 7749 Delta by the facility's automated systems. No one bothered learning human names, they all looked the same anyway, with their pale skin and strange forward-facing eyes. He'd been convicted of smuggling weapons to insurgent cells in the Outer Rim, a crime that carried a standard 15-year sentence in the Kelos facility. Warden Grex had thought nothing of it when the transport arrived. Humans were considered a minor nuisance at worst, a young species barely 3 centuries into space travel, still struggling with basic FTL technology. They were weak, short-lived, and lacked the natural armor or enhanced reflexes of more developed species. The first sign of trouble came during processing. Prisoner 7749 Delta had remained silent throughout intake, his small dark eyes studying everything with an intensity that made the guards uncomfortable. When they placed him in cell block 7 with the other low-security inmates, he simply nodded and walked inside without complaint. For 6 months, he was a model prisoner. He followed every rule, attended mandatory labor sessions, and never caused any disturbances. The guards began to forget he existed. That was their first mistake. Security footage later revealed that 7749 Delta had spent those 6 months mapping every detail of the facility. He memorized guard rotation schedules, studied the prison's defensive systems, and somehow acquired detailed schematics of the station's power grid. More disturbing was how he'd done it, through simple observation and conversation, gathering information so gradually that no one noticed. The escape itself was a masterpiece of planning and timing. During a scheduled maintenance blackout, 7749 Delta disabled the cell block's backup power, using improvised tools fashioned from cafeteria utensils. He then navigated through 17 levels of security, using maintenance shafts that didn't officially exist on any schematic, but which he'd somehow mapped from vibration patterns in the walls. When alarms finally sounded, he was already in the shuttle bay, commandeering a transport vessel. But instead of fleeing immediately, he broadcast a single message on all prison frequencies. "This is James Mitchell, Terran Federation Marine Corps, serial number 2847 Golf. You have violated the Geneva Conventions by holding prisoners of war in substandard conditions. I am hereby notifying Earth Command of this facility's location and operational status. You have 48 hours to begin treating all prisoners according to interstellar law." Warden Grex had laughed at the transmission. Earth was 300 light-years away, and their navy consisted of a handful of converted cargo haulers. What could they possibly do? That was their second mistake. The human fleet arrived exactly 47 hours and 37 minutes later. Now standing on his bridge, Admiral Zextar realized the true scope of the situation. This wasn't just about one escaped prisoner. It was about the message his escape had sent. The humans had learned that their people were being held in violation of their own laws, and they had responded with overwhelming force. "Incoming transmission," his communications officer announced. "It's from the human flagship." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human female in a crisp military uniform. Her rank insignia identified her as Admiral Sarah Chen, Terran Federation Navy. Behind her, Zextar could see rows of tactical stations manned by grim-faced humans. "This is Admiral Chen of the TFS Retribution," she said, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of barely controlled fury. "You are holding 1,732 Terran citizens in violation of interstellar law. You will release them immediately and surrender all facility records, or we will consider this system a legitimate military target." Zextar found his voice. "Admiral Chen, surely we can negotiate." "Negative." Her interruption was sharp as a blade. "You had your chance for negotiation when Sergeant Mitchell first contacted you. You ignored his warnings. You continued illegal detention. You forced our hand. One human. Zextar's composure finally cracked. You're risking interstellar war over one escaped human. Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. Sergeant Mitchell isn't just one human, Admiral. He's one of ours, and we don't leave our people behind. The transmission ended. 12 hours later, the Kello system was a debris field. The prison facility had been the first target, its prisoners safely evacuated to human ships before the bombardment began. The naval yards orbiting Kellos Prime followed, then the military installations on the outer moons. But Admiral Chen hadn't stopped there. Every government building, every military depot, every symbol of the authority that had sanctioned the illegal prison was systematically destroyed. She left the civilian populations untouched, but made it clear that the political structure that had allowed such violations would not be tolerated. The message spread across the galaxy within days. The humans were no longer the weak, backward species everyone had assumed. They were something far more dangerous, a people who would burn down star systems to protect their own. When the Galactic Council convened an emergency session to address the human question, they found waiting for them a simple document. It was the complete text of something called the Geneva Conventions, translated into every major galactic language. At the bottom, in neat human script, was a single line. "We tried to tell you nicely. Sergeant James Mitchell, Terran Federation Marine Corps. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again."